What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today we're talking points prediction for Game Week 5. The international break isn't quite over yet. There's still matches to be played at the time of you watching this, but hopefully there's no major injuries which affect the video. But obviously we're running into Game Week 5 now, so the usual weekly content starts up again. So if you are enjoying this, make sure to give it a like. Just as a reminder, I'm going to go through how my predictions did for last week, and then take you through the 3 midfielders, 3 defenders, and 3 forwards as well that I think could do well in Game Week 5. So let's just jump into it. So I know during international breaks, when you start talking about the previous game week again, it feels like an age away. I expect everyone's forgotten about it, especially if you had a poor week. But let's quickly go through how I did in Game Week 4, because we do this every video. Laporte got no points, so 1 point for kind of playing but then getting taken off in 36 minutes. And then got a yellow card as well, which is pretty unfortunate and a little bit unlucky, to be fair, because Man City went on to get the clean sheet, which I'm sure they would have done if Laporte was on the pitch, but nothing you can do about an injury like that. Van Aanholt, 6 points, so he's actually top of the defender rankings at the moment, coming through really well. Clean sheet against Villa, so nicely done, ticking along pretty well, and you'd expect him to continue doing that as long as he keeps his place, which I just don't see any reason why that would be at risk at this point. Emerson, 1 point. I feel like Emerson's one of those players I'm going to keep putting in because I do like him as an option, and I do think he'll do well going forward. I had him in my watch list video as well recently, but to be fair, he's only had 4 points in the opening 4 game, which was just pretty poor. So once Kante and Rudiger are back, let's see how Chelsea perform defensively, and if he can get some attacking returns, he could be a good option, but a rubbish one so far. Sterling only 3 points. Man City getting 4 goals and Sterling getting no returns is extremely frustrating, especially if you captain him. Obviously, De Bruyne did really well, so obviously he was the one to go for. But you'd expect Sterling to get back into the points going forward. Buendia, Norwich didn't do too well against West Ham. Norwich as a whole, that is, so Buendia didn't come away with anything. And Lanzini as well didn't come away with anything. But as I've spoken on other videos, he is creating a lot of chances, and obviously they've got a striker like Haller up there now, up front, who can convert these chances, as he's shown in the last couple of games. So Lanzini, I think, is a good option going forward, but wasn't so good for Game Week 4. And then getting onto the strikers, where, did brilliantly. Got basically 2 goals from every single striker, and Aguero and Vardy got an assist as well. Vardy in particular was being sold quite a bit. He's actually dropped in price. They scored that great lob against Bournemouth. Aguero, like I said, Brighton conceded 4 goals. Sterling not on the score sheet, but Aguero was. I don't think there's too much to worry about between those, so I think it's going to be a bit like Salah and Mane. 1 week one's going to do well, another week the other one will do well, and most weeks they'll probably both do well, either setting each other up or just getting on the score sheet anyway. So I'm not too concerned about Sterling, but obviously Aguero has been in really good form. Let's see what happens when Jesus is back. Does Jesus get Europe? Does Jesus get the Cups? Or will he take some minutes away from Aguero in the league? He didn't really last year, but maybe this year will be a bit different, so let's see what happens there. And Abraham on the score sheet for Chelsea. I don't think there's a huge need to jump on him just yet. We've still got the likes of Pookie, Barnes and Haller who are doing really well as well. So there are options around that kind of price point. But obviously another 2 goals is pretty nice for him. Chelsea do have a couple of tougher fixtures coming up. Let's see how he handles those. But after that, they get good again. So definitely one to keep an eye on. And a nice 13-point haul for Game Week 4. Starting off with defenders, as always. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is my number 1 pick. £7 million. Quite a lot of money, of course. But playing Newcastle at home. We saw Liverpool get their first clean sheet of the season last week. You'd expect another one this week against Newcastle. I think it's a pretty good chance of that, obviously. In terms of his attacking potential, 14 chances created already so far this season, which is only 2 behind De Bruyne, who's got 16. And when you compare him to the guy on the other flank, Robertson, he's only got 5. Obviously, on any given day, one of them can outscore the other. But in terms of the ball going through, Trent Alexander-Arnold on the right and the set pieces he's got, which are really helping out. He is creating a lot of chances for the team. Talking to Newcastle, defensively, shots in the box conceded, they're the 7th worst. We do see that they sat quite deep against Spurs, a bit similar to how they would have played under Benitez. So you'd expect them to do that away to Liverpool as well. So hopefully Liverpool can get an early goal to unlock that defence. Otherwise, it could be a bit of a struggle, but hopefully they got the tools there. Obviously, attacking down the flank, Robertson and Trent are going to be able to get forward if Newcastle aren't attacking themselves. Salah and Mane, they should be good. In terms of attacking threats, so hopefully for the clean sheet for Trent, they got 29 shots in the box, which is similar to the likes of Brighton or Palace. It's not anything out of this world, and I don't expect the likes of Joelinton to kind of put too much pressure on the likes of Van Dijk. So clean sheet looks pretty good. And yeah, I think overall that's a pretty good number 1 pick. Him versus Robertson, hopefully, because I own Robertson, he'll come in the points soon, but you can't really look past Trent at the moment. Second pick, non-top 6, is Lundstrom. he is a bit of an easy pick, I think, to put in so far. So I don't want to put him in every single week. So obviously he is playing as a midfielder. But only 3 teams have less shots in the box than Southampton, who's the team that he's playing this week. That's Villa, Leicester, maybe surprisingly, and actually Sheffield United themselves. So attacking potential is there for Lundstram. I'm just not sure how much. And I think Southampton aren't going to be helped with Redmond probably still being out. I think he might be back for game week 6, but not looking good for game week 5. We'll have to keep an eye on that. In terms of Sheffield United players, I do quite like Ender Stevens as well. He got a nice assist in the last game. I actually watched him over the international break for Ireland versus Switzerland. He looked good in that game as well. The only problem is it's hard to kind of pick him, especially for your actual team, because Lundstram's obviously cheaper and a really good neighbour, and you don't really want 2 Sheffield United defenders. And even if you look at the underlying stats, obviously they'll both get the same points for the clean sheet. Lundstram's created 3 big chances versus 1 for Stevens, 4 shots in total versus 2, and 2 shots in the box versus 1. So he is beating him on the underlying stats. And we do see him kind of popping up in the box and stuff like that as well, so hopefully get some shots off. But yeah, pretty good chance for a clean sheet. Southampton have got the 6th worst record as well for kind of shots in the box conceded as well. So potential for attack and returns there, although Sheffield United themselves haven't been great so far. But defensively, I think they've been pretty sound. Could be a clean sheet there without Redmond. And Danny Rose at less than 10%. I do think there's a good chance for a Spurs clean sheet this week. Obviously, that's why I've put him in. Playing Palace, who maybe don't have quite the attacking threat that maybe other teams have, although Zaha is obviously, of course, always a bit of a worry. Similar to Newcastle, Palace haven't been that amazing for goal threat. In fact, they're actually worse in terms of shots in the box taken versus Newcastle. So actually worse than Newcastle, which maybe you wouldn't expect, maybe you would. He's played all 4 games so far as well. Ben Davies is available, but maybe we'll see a bit more rotation when Europe starts, which is soon. And the cup matches as well. But right now, Rose has started all 4 games, and he's looked pretty good on the eye. So I think he should start again this week against Crystal Palace. The obviously problem there is you don't necessarily want to get him into your team just in case he does get rotated, but for a points prediction, he's pretty sound at 5.5 million. Created 5 chances so far, so similar to Emerson and the same as Robertson. So not awful at all. I think Crystal Palace is a good fixture for Spurs, and clean sheet definitely on the cards. Moving on to midfielders, I've gone for Salah as the number 1 pick. Obviously doubled up now on Liverpool with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and like I spoke about with him, I do think it would be good for Liverpool to get an early goal to unlock that defence. We're expecting Newcastle to sit deep like they did against Spurs. But Spurs obviously didn't play Eriksen from the start and would generally seem to be having a few problems behind the scenes, which Liverpool aren't having. So you'd imagine they'll do a better job than Spurs did going forward. But still, it's tough to break down teams like Newcastle when they sit deep. So if they can get an early goal, who knows what kind of score it could end up being. I didn't pick Sterling, mostly because of international duty. I do think Man City will do extremely well against Norwich. I have got David Silva in, as you can see, but Sterling's going to play, obviously, minutes for England, whereas Salah and Mane don't have that issue. They're not going to play any minutes over this international break, so they're going to be fully rested. So again, if they can get that early goal, who knows what the score might be. In terms of Salah versus Mane, look, there's probably still not much in it. I'm always going to plump for Salah until Mane looks like completely the better option. I still think Salah being on penalties really does help, especially when obviously Milner's off the pitch. We've not seen a penalty yet where they've both been on the pitch. You'd assume Milner would still have them, but he's probably not going to get too many minutes this year. And Salah, has already had a penalty against Arsenal. So if that continues, another one against Newcastle, that'd be super good. In terms of underlying stats, they're actually pretty close as well. So 10 shots in the box for Salah versus 6 for Mane. Obviously, remembering that Mane's had a few less minutes. He's actually created more chances, created 10 versus Salah's 8. But when you look at expected assists and expected goals, Salah's actually higher for both. So right now I don't see a huge reason to plump for Mane unless you absolutely need the money. But yeah, he could quite easily be the one to do the damage versus Newcastle. You just don't know for that one. Sigurdsson's my pick for outside the top 6. Only 1 assist so far. I don't want to keep saying it, but I do think he's been a bit unlucky not to get more. Versus Wolves, it was a bit weird watching him. It was almost like he was a player playing for his place. He just looked completely up for it and much, much better than he did against Villa, where he looked awful and got brought off in 60 minutes. So obviously he's not playing for his place. They don't really have a better number 10 than him, so he's going to start most games anyway. And I don't really have any worries that that's not going to happen. But yeah, against Wolves, he just looked like a bit of a different player. His stats are pretty comparable to Mane as well, and obviously Mane's been doing pretty good. So 10 chances created so far, 8 shots with 4 of those in the box. And Bournemouth are the 7th worst team for shots conceded in the box, and they lost Charlie Daniels in the last game. I don't know how much that Charlie Daniels makes them defensively solid, but it's obviously not good losing out on a player from your defence that's played most of the minutes so far. So that's a bit of a worry as well. And we saw that Iwobi and Keane were playing for Everton in the last game. So I don't think it's a coincidence that, it wasn't just Wolves that were bad. I think those two really helped with the 3 goals that Everton scored, especially Iwobi. So that's only going to help Sigurdsson as well. We know he's on a lot of the set pieces too. So I think he's a good bet. 7.8 million if you've owned him. It is pretty annoying that he's obviously dropped in price, but it's still a good price. And I think against Bournemouth it could do really well. And then David Silva, like I said, had to include a Man City attacker. He's played 3 out of 4 games. Obviously, the elephant in the room is we don't know if he's guaranteed to start. He is an option which you probably won't necessarily want to bring into your own team. But for something like this, points prediction, he looks really, really good. He has played 3 out of 4, 4 assists in the last 2 games, looks pretty decent. And around that price, if he was getting minutes, he'd probably be one of the better options. 7 chances created so far, 4 shots in the box. So nothing out of this world, but you'd expect Man City to do extremely well against Norwich. They've conceded the most amount of shots so far, and we saw them play out of the back against Liverpool. And I think if they do that against Man City, there's no reason why they can't score 4+ goals. Obviously, the difference is Norwich are at home this time, but I don't think that's going to matter for Man City. So David Silva, possibly even could have been the number 1 pick outside of course, De Bruyne or Sterling. But I think Man City are going to probably smash Norwich, and if he plays, he's definitely going to be in the points. After getting 6 goals for the 3 picks last week, I don't think it's going to happen this week. And I'm a little bit wary about the picks I've made. I'm not sure, I could have gone obviously Aguero against Norwich, which would have been obvious. Firmino as well, but didn't want to go triple Liverpool. And Kane as well would have been double up. So I've not gone for any, more of the obvious picks, but still, Aubameyang, I think number 1 pick looks pretty good. He's been really consistent so far. 3 goals, 1 assist. I think you probably want to see a few more double attacking returns, maybe a goal and assist, or just some more bonus points. Because when you've got an £11 million striker like Kane, they score a goal but only get 6 points. It's a bit frustrating. You want to see more than that. You want to kind of see 8 or 9 plus, but he has been consistent. The good thing about Aubameyang is if Lacazette is out, which we'll have to wait and see what happens in the press conferences, he should play more central. So obviously he has got these attacking returns, but he's played a lot of the time coming in from the left wing, which he's obviously still done well in. And obviously he's a great player, so you expect him to still finish chances and create chances as well. But if you can play more centrally, that's definitely going to help him. Obviously he's right down the middle. And with the likes of Pepe playing and hopefully Ceballos as well, we know that Emery likes to rotate a bit, but if those 2 play as well, then he's definitely going to create a lot of chances for Aubameyang. So I think that looks good against Watford. New manager, could be a new manager bounce, but I'm not expecting them to really improve on what they've done so far. Results-wise, maybe they'll start picking up a few more points than they have, but in terms of the kind of shots they're having and the shots they concede, they're not actually doing that bad. So we'll see how the new manager, obviously the manager that's been there before, how he does when he comes in. Wilson's my non-top 6 pick, and this one, I'm going to be honest, I think this is a bit of a hard sell. I didn't see too many other options. I could have gone for Barnes maybe as a non-top 6 side, but when you look at shots in the box conceded, Everton are actually the 2nd best so far, but Brighton aren't too far behind either, so I don't know if Barnes was an absolute standout pick, and obviously Wilson's at home, which I think kind of helps him a bit. Now, he has actually returned in every game so far, so 3 assists, 1 goal, but a bit like Aubameyang, he's only got 5 points at a time. When he scored last week, he got a yellow card, and the other 3 games were assists. So you want to see, again, a bit more than that 8, 9 plus. And he could do it against Everton, but I will say the defence has been pretty solid so far. So obviously conceded 2 against Wolves, but in terms of the shots they conceded, they're not too high up. Again, he's a bit like Sigurdsson. He's dropped twice in price already, which is a bit frustrating. But if you've kept him, I think you definitely keep him for this match and maybe give him a bit more of a run out. The only thing I worry about with Bournemouth is how much are they missing Brooks. Obviously, he's out for a little while. Harry Wilson's probably going to play this week, so let's see how he does. He could be an option. But yeah, Bournemouth has started off a bit slow, but you can't doubt that Wilson's, the amount of points Wilson's got. He has returned in every game. 5 points per game. To be fair, last year he had 5.7 points per game, or 5.6, something like that, for a lot less money. So 5 points per game is not really good enough. But hopefully, if you can get a goal, get 2 goals, 1 assist, 1 goal, then suddenly he looks a bit more worth it. So I think he looks okay for this week, but maybe not the standout option to bring into your sides, but maybe one to keep if you do own him. And then Haller, like I said, he's the man. I can't believe he's still owned by less than 10%, just because it feels like every man and their dog is trying to buy him at the moment, and maybe that will increase more as we get closer to Saturday. I think he's around 6.1% at the time of recording this, so quite low. If you look at expected goals, he's got the 2nd best from open play, only behind Sterling, which, considering he's played 3 games and one of them was Man City, that's pretty impressive. And West Ham are creating a lot of chances. I've spoken about Lanzini in other videos, so I think he looks good. And Aston Villa, who they're playing, are the 2nd worst team for shots conceded in the box. That's only 1 more, or 1 less than Norwich have. So defensively, they're not doing great. They are blocking a lot of shots. But I think that's going to be difficult to keep doing. You know, Mings has been looking good, got his England call up. If you keep conceding shots, eventually you're going to concede a lot more goals. So I think that's a bit of a worry for Aston Villa, and Haller should be able to exploit that. In terms of West Ham shots in the box and how attacking they've been, they're only behind Watford again. Surprisingly, like I said, Watford haven't been doing that bad in that regard. Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Man City. So they're actually quite high up there in terms of the amount of shots they're having. And so yeah, I think West Ham are looking pretty good this week. Villa, yes, it's an away game, but I think it's a pretty good away game that you could have. And Haller's definitely someone I've got on my radar. Just a bit expensive to bring in without doing a bit of a reshuffle or wild card. But I don't think that 6.1% ownership is going to last much longer. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of my picks. Should I have just gone with Firmino, Kane, Barnes, the likes of those players? Or do you think the ones I've picked could do something this week? So let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, as always, make sure to give it a like. Much appreciated. Subscribe if you're new around here. Much more content to come up until Game Week 5 than the usual weekly stuff throughout the season. So go and check the videos I've done already this international break if you haven't already. We're getting back into the FPL swing of things now. Not too long till Game Week 5 starts. Otherwise, I'll leave the video there. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers all.